What's up, hockey fans, and welcome back to the Good Goal Podcast. This is episode 21. I'm Christian Brady. That's Matt Tiart. Matt, how you doing?
I'm good. I just had to spit out my gum. I should have done that before we started
Yeah,
recording.
that was real professional there. Yeah.
I'm good.
How's Clemson?
It's not the same.
Yeah, I know.
Sucks.
I can only imagine.
This is our full week for all the listeners. This is our first full week of class, and I don't know about you, Christian, but it sucks. I want to be on campus. I want to be around people. I want football.
100%. It's hitting me hard. It's days like this where you're happy to have the podcast because I was going from 8 a.m. to 6:15. It is right now. I was done at 6. Other than that, it's just been all work. Finally get to talk to you in a language that I speak, which is hockey and not Spanish, which I had to do today. So I feel comfortable here. I like it. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, as we say in sign language, it's hockey. For all you people watching on YouTube.
That's hockey?
Yeah, so you make a palm and then you make like a little stick with your finger and you just go like that.
Dang. All right.
Yeah.
I know sign language.
There you go.
Actually, there's no Canadian American Sign Language because Canadian Sign Language is only that word. So that's a fun fact for you.
Yeah, there you go. Fun fact for you.
Yeah.
All right. Do you want me to start off the first thing?
Yeah, I would like you to. I want to hear what you have to think.
Okay. Big news in the hockey world. Thank God. But here's a warning for everyone listening to our podcast. Turn your volumes down because it's about to get loud up in here. Washington Capitals fire head coach Todd Reirden. We just talked about this last week. I wanted us to lose the series so we could fire it. Short-term sacrifice for long-term success. He was not the answer when we hired him. Everybody on Twitter was saying how pissed they were that we let Trotz go. I said that even before we won the cup. Reports are that Gerard Gallant and Mike Babcock are the front runners. I might throw up in my mouth live on this podcast. And then GM. Yeah. Go ahead.
Mike Babcock would be a disaster. I really hope he doesn't get hired. Absolute horror story.
And then
his guys hate him.
And then GM Brian McClellan said that previous head coaching experience is a must, and it's a win-now attitude before Ovi, Backstrom, Oshie, they all start to decline. And I won't get too much into off-season talk because we got a lot of it coming up after the playoffs, so we're going to save it all for then. So, yeah. But my first initial thought is Gallant would be fine, Babcock would be a disaster, and I want Peter Laviolette. So those are my initial thoughts.
Yeah, Gallant and Laviolette should be plan A. Those guys.
Babcock would be a disaster, mainly because he refuses to adapt to this new style of hockey. We're not the 2006 Detroit Red Wings. We have too much swagger on our team. We got too much young talent. We have the Norris Trophy winner, and he doesn't know how to produce or work well with offensive defensemen. I mean, we saw that firsthand. It would be a nightmare.
Yeah, not only does he not adapt to the new hockey world, he's not adapting to the new world either. He's set in the 70s with the way that he talks to people, the way he treats his players. Just horror stories out of Toronto. I don't wish that on any Washington Capital player, as much animosity as I might feel towards them as a result of being your friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, why don't we move on real quick? Another sort of off-season
All right.
I'm sure we'll get into after the season ends, but huge trade. The Toronto Maple Leafs and the Pittsburgh Penguins in a blockbuster deal. The Penguins sent Toronto forward Evan Rodriguez, forward Philip Hallander, defenseman David Warsofsky, and a 2020 first-round pick, and that draft is happening in a few weeks, I think.
It's a number 15 overall pick, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So the Penguins receive forward Pontus Aberg, defenseman Jesper Lindgren, and forward, this is the marquee guy of the deal, Kasperi Kapanen, who's 24 years old. He had 36 points this year in 69 games, 2 years left on his contract. He's making $3 million this year. He was drafted by the Penguins. I didn't know that, Matt. So this is a guy. That's a good.
Yeah, I threw that in there because it's so funny that people on Twitter were talking about this. He was drafted by the Penguins in 2015, and the Penguins traded him to Toronto for Phil Kessel. So everybody was like, Malkin was trending on Twitter because they were saying, well, you got your wish of getting rid of Kessel to Arizona. Now you have to play with the guy who you traded him for. So it's just fun.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Well, one thing that says about him is they like him immediately. They liked him as a young guy when they drafted him, and now they must have liked the way he progressed because he's the marquee in a deal that without him really having significant success in the future, it looks like they lost this deal from a blind right off the bat standpoint. It looks like the Penguins didn't get what they should have. So they're obviously very high on him.
So the Penguins definitely won the deal that sent him to Toronto. They got Phil Kessel and they got 2 Stanley Cups. This deal to acquire him back, I don't think we're going to know who actually won this deal till sometime next season. But right now, at face value, they got fleeced. So,
right. Yep. So we'll get into this a little bit once the playoffs end. But we got a lot on our plate right now to talk about hockey that's actually happening now and not hockey that happens next year. So why don't we get right into it? As we always do, we'll start in the West. The number 1 seeded Vegas Golden Knights versus number 7 Vancouver Canucks. The Knights fleeced the Canucks in Game 1, 5-0.
Trashed
Absolute gong show. It was not even close. Vancouver did not look like themselves. So they lead that series 1-0, and they play again tonight, probably 9:30-10. Tonight being Tuesday. I'm excited for that game to see how Vancouver bounces back. But Matt, what did you see in the first game?
So technically, Vancouver's the 6th seed, but like I said earlier, I'm going to keep the seeds they originally had just because I think it's cool if lower seeds advance.
Me too.
Vegas looked like the best team in the NHL. They absolutely fleeced is not even the right word for it. I mean, they trashed them. Vancouver looked like they should have been playing in the AHL. Unfortunately, I expect the same thing tonight. I don't think Vancouver. I picked them to lose against St. Louis, and they bounced back and proved me wrong. But they don't even look like they should be in the same league as Vegas.
Yeah, it was an interesting game to watch. Vegas is built for these 5-0 wins where they have explosive offense, but also they're just a physically imposing team. So when they play the slower, more physical style game, they're going to dominate it from start to finish. What Vancouver has to do is pick the speed up of the game, and if they do that, I wouldn't be surprised if they won a game 5-0 or whatever, just because Vegas really can't keep up with that type of speed. Vancouver can skate with any team in this league. It didn't look like them last night, but they really can. Or it wasn't last night. It was Sunday night, I think. But either way, they didn't look good. If they can't get back to that fast style play, it's not going to be good for them in this series. Just to make a pick, I know it's kind of unfair because we started. I have to pick Vegas. I know you probably do too. But I think Vancouver will put up a fight. I don't see them going down easy.
Okay, so yeah, it's kind of like cheap that we're starting now, but I got Vegas in 5.
Cool.
So I also want to point out, go check out. Actually, I think he deleted it, but Marc-Andre Fleury, his agent, posted this like painting of Fleury like in a butterfly position in a Knights jersey, and he's got a sword through his back, and written on the sword is Peter DeBoer's name, as if it's like signaling the Knights betrayed him by starting Robin Lehner. I sent it to you on Twitter. You just said, wow. I want to get your full thoughts now that we're on the podcast.
Yeah, such a weird move to me, especially, and I know this is like a superficial or materialistic way to think about it, but Fleury already got paid. So from an agent's point of view,
why is he $6 million a year?
Right. So I don't understand why Fleury would be upset, and maybe this is situation where the agent is just operating as a friend of his, knowing that he's upset and trying to release it. But from an agent standpoint, I don't see any motivation to do this. The guy's already getting his money. Who cares if he plays? It just means he's not getting hurt. But I can imagine that Fleury's probably upset that his team went out and got Leonard even at the deadline, and that now that he was taken over, I could see him being upset. But at the same time, I mean, he could be along the ride for a win here. I mean, a ring. And he's been in this situation before where he's had to be called in to play not as a backup, but as a 1A. He's been in this situation before with Matt Murray, and there are a couple of runs. So I don't know why this time would be different. It really is. It's a distraction. I don't think he should have done it for the sake of the team. Who knows? It was just baffling.
Yeah, so that's kind of what Fleury said was like the intention wasn't to be a distraction. I think that's why he ended up deleting it. But the article I read did say that Fleury and his agent have been like friends since high school, which again would make sense to what you said as a friend standpoint, but as an agent standpoint, it doesn't make any sense. The tweet was a distraction because it went viral on Twitter, and you can't blame the Golden Knights front office for going with Robin Lehner because he's only lost one game ever in a Knights jersey, regular season and playoffs. So, I mean, Robin Lehner's the guy. If they're going to win a cup, it's going to be with him because he's playing lights out. This is like his third shutout this playoffs. So
yeah, he's playing awesome. If it's his job, then it doesn't look like he's going to lose it right now, and that's the situation it seems like we're in.
Yeah. So I just wanted to point that out because I saw it on Twitter, and I know a couple of our listeners probably saw it. But, yeah, Robin Lehner's the guy. And, again, we talked about it last episode that Fleury, this is like the third time he's gotten Drew Bledsoe in his career. But to me, seems like the type of guy that, regardless of the situation, he's going to be a leader in the locker room. It just seems like like this would be the time that tips the edge. Yeah,
for sure. So that's the part that makes me think that the agent went rogue in this situation. I don't think that Fleury should have any of those sentiments. In his press conference, he didn't comment on it at all. He just kind of ghost answered like a lot of guys do. So yeah, it's just really. I wish we didn't have to talk about it because that's something that, I mean, we should be focused on how well Vegas is playing, and how Leonard is playing.
Yeah.
Leonard's played awesome. You mentioned it. He won the job fair and square, it seems like. He's really playing out of his head right now. So good for him. Hopefully he keeps it up.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. Me too. All right. Why don't we move on? The next series in the West is the number 2 seed, Colorado Avalanche, versus the number 3 Dallas Stars. Dallas surprisingly up to a commanding 2-0 lead. They won Game 1 5-3 and Game 2 5-2. Game 3 will be tomorrow night. Dallas has looked awesome so far. You're very high on Colorado. I am too. But I think one thing that we both agreed upon at the beginning of this was that first line isn't going to be able to get it done the way that they were able to in the regular season. They can't win games anymore. Now you need your depth scoring, and that is the number one blaring issue on the team in the playoffs so far, or in this series so far, is the inability to produce past, Rantanen, Landeskog, and McKinnon. So hopefully those guys can step up, guys like Makar and, that back end for them, those depth guys. And they're going to need it going forward because that's the number one issue right now.
So I sent you a tweet that was like, this year's playoffs, Nathan McKinnon is like a human highlight reel. And your response was so sarcastic. You were like, man, I've never heard of this guy. We never talk about him on the podcast.
Yeah.
But it has to be mentioned how well Nathan McKinnon's playing. Like, putting the team on his back is an understatement. He is absolutely lighting up the lamp, whether it's assists or goals, but he can't do it by himself. They have 5 goals in this series compared to Dallas's 10. I'm pretty sure 4 out of the 5 are on the power play. That's not going to win games. The biggest issue for me is that Grubauer is hurt. He got hurt in game 1. He hasn't been back. He's out indefinitely. I think if they're going to win the cup, it's going to have to be without him. And I've never even heard of the guy who's in net for them. And another big loss is Matt Calvert, who's a depth guy. He's third-line center, plays awesome on the boards, quick guy, plays on the PK. And then last game they lost Eric Johnson, who to me is the all-around best defenseman for them. So the injuries are catching up with Colorado, and they don't have the depth scoring. I would love to see McKinnon carry his team all the way, but I don't think it's possible, especially with how good this Dallas team is. Unfortunately, I overlooked them in the qualifying round or the round robin and in the first round. But Qdoman is standing on his head, and for some reason, all the players in Dallas are stepping up around Sagan and Ben. It's not just them. So.
Yep. Like you said, Qdoman has looked awesome. So I know we got a huge head start on this, Matt, but I'm going to say Dallas in 6. I want to hear your pick.
Dallas in 6 as well. Now that we have 2 games in and Dallas won both of them, I think Colorado can squeak out 2 wins, especially if their power play keeps getting chances, because that power play is lethal. But you can't win a series relying on a power play or your top line. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
So,
especially with a team as disciplined as Dallas, that's their main story for this year, is how they've always kind of been a team that focuses more on the offense and the defense, and they flipped the script this year, and that's why they've had so much success with their team defense, and their discipline has been awesome. So if you're Colorado and you're relying on that power play and you run into a team that doesn't take very many penalties, well, then your luck starts to dry up. So.
Yep. Plus, your franchise goalie is out, and I've never even heard of this guy. He's in net, so
yeah. No,
your brother could probably play better than the way this guy's playing right now. So
yeah, he did not look good.
10 goals in 2 games.
Yeah, he did not look good.
Give him like 3 goals in 3 minutes.
All right, let's move on to the East. Number 1 seed, Philadelphia Flyers against the formerly 7 seed New York Islanders. This series is 1-0 Islanders. New York won game 1 commandingly, 4-0 with an empty net goal. Game 2 will be tomorrow night, Wednesday. Did you watch the first game, Matt? I think you did.
I watched every minute.
Yep. They look great. The Islanders look great, and Philly did not. Carter Hart led in a
Philly looked slow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Philly looked slow. Carter Hart looked not himself. And the New York Islanders, this is going to sound crazy, they played New York Islanders hockey. They went up 1-0. They parked the bus in front of the blue line. They got a counterattack. Pajot scored on a rebound, 2-0. They put even more people back. They scored again, and then Vigneault pulled the goalie with 7 minutes and 30 seconds left, and they scored an empty net again. This looked like the New York Islanders. I was watching with my friend Daniel, who's straight out of Long Island. He was on my last Beer Money podcast, and I looked at him when they went up 1-0. I said, God, it is so frustrating playing the Isles. I mean, they trashed the Capitals, but they went up 1-0, and you know they're going to win it probably 1-0.
Right.
They just got lucky with 2 more goals and then an empty netter.
Yeah.
But you knew they weren't going to let any more goals after they went up 1-0 because that's just the way they play.
Yep, it is. And as we keep mentioning, to play like that, you need to have the goaltending. And Varlamov has looked so solid. Doesn't look like he's trying out there, which is what you want out of your goalie. You want him to look like he's handling everything with ease, which is exactly how Semyon Varlamov looks. Good for that guy, the journeyman. He's been around the league. He was in the Caps for a while, the Caps system, and he's gone elsewhere.
2010, he was our starting goalie.
Right. So good for him making a comeback. Similar story to the next series, which we're about to get into, Yaro Halak, another journeyman who's now found a new home where he finds himself as a starter just because he, whatever. Varlamov sounds like he won the job. Yaro just kind of lucked into it, I guess you'd say. But both of them, making good impressions as goalies in this round. So you need that goaltending in the playoffs. I know we talk a lot about goaltending on this podcast, but it is an extremely important part of it. So, yeah, he's looked great. And as I just mentioned, let's move on. The last series, Tampa Bay Lightning, the number 2 seed against the number 4 seed Boston Bruins. Boston took a 1-0 lead against Tampa with a 3-2 win. Game 2 is in 29 minutes. I can't wait to watch.
So we're going to try to hurry this up for Christian.
Yeah, no, I think we got plenty of time. Boston looked phenomenal for, I'd say, about 52 minutes. A few minutes, just a few lucky breaks for Tampa. Victor Hedman on both of the goals, just throwing a puck on net, and it deflects off of Charlie McAvoy and a couple defensemen in front of the net, finds the goal. Other than that, from a Boston standpoint, you got to be happy with that win. Yaro looked good, which is the biggest question mark. The first line looked great, 2 goals, 1 on the power play. Everybody else buying in, the defenseman looked great. It was an awesome win for Boston, and you're going to need wins like that. So what do you got?
Can we go back to the last series real quick? What's your prediction on Islanders Flyers?
Oh, sorry. This is such a tough pick, even though it's 1-0.
I know you were eager to get to your Bs.
I'm going to pick, I know. I'm going to pick New York. Just, I don't know. I have family in New York who's pulling hard for the Islanders, and they typically pull hard for the Bruins when the Islanders are not in it, so I owe it to them. I'm going to pick the Islanders. I think it's going to be a great series. I'm going to say Isles in 7.
Okay. One more point on Varlamov. You were singing his praises, and I want in on that action. He's 40 seconds away from breaking the New York Islanders all-time consecutive shutout streak in the playoffs. He's had 121 minutes of shutouts because he shut us out in game whatever it was, 5, and then shut out in game 1. So props to him. If he gets that record, he deserves every accolade.
You say 40 seconds, Matt?
Yeah, 40 seconds,
okay,
yeah.
So win that face-off and dump the puck in for your goalie. That's what you got to do it for the Islanders.
Yeah, exactly. Don't get icing. I got the Islanders in 6. Just it's so frustrating to play them. All they need is 1, and then they can just play their game comfortably. So, and it makes our loss look better if the farther they go.
We think the same way, Matt.
And you have to love Trotz if you're a Caps fan. So I just want to see him do well. Such a great guy for the sport, and wish him nothing but the best. So anyway, we can get back to Tampa, Boston.
Okay. Wow. I'm throwing it on to you. I want to hear your thoughts on the series.
Tampa, Boston. Boston hates Tampa because Tampa trashes them regularly. But seriously, what was it? Back-to-back years Tampa beat you guys in the playoffs. We talk about it all the time that there's no such thing as short memory in hockey. I have a feeling you guys remember that series, the year we won the cup. Tampa won in 5. Well, Tampa and the refs won in 5. Let me put it that way.
It was a gentleman's sweep, too. It was a commanding victory for Boston in game 1, and then not a chance after that.
Well, yeah, Tampa and the refs won in 5. I have a feeling this is going to go a little bit differently. I say Boston in 7.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going to say Boston in 6. Same logic. Tampa is – I was saying this to my dad. They've looked so bad in the playoffs under John Cooper and with this new core of theirs. But that's I drew a conclusion to the Patriots. When the Patriots play and go 12-4, their losses are typically not to Kansas City and Baltimore. It's typically to the Titans and the Lions and whatever, because it's just
and the Dolphins in Miami.
Exactly. You can't just get over these certain teams. when Tampa gets punched in the mouth straight off the bat by the Bruins, it feels like it's a different tone, you know? It's not like you're playing Columbus and you're like, I need to win this series because whatever, we have so many expectations. It's such a different tone, which is why it worries me about this series, because Tampa knows they're playing a team that is very, very good. They're going to hold them responsible so they can't get caught sleeping and get 3-4 goals up on them quick. Tampa knows that they have to be in it for every single second of this series if they want to win it. And it's just like, it's almost like they're playing with house money. They got nothing to lose, which is what worries me. But I still do think Boston is going to win the series. I think the Bruins are the Bruins now, especially those first 50 minutes of the game. They looked unbelievable, like nobody could stop them. So I'm going to go with the Bruins in 6.
The story to me of this series is the power play. Tampa has an unbelievable power play. You guys have an unbelievable power play because Pasta is just putting up ridiculous numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I think whoever has the better power play is going to decide the series. And that sounds crazy, but as lethal as both of these power plays are and as close as this series is, it's all it takes is one power play goal to change the entire series. So to me, it's going to be the special teams decides this series.
For sure. And in this bubble, there have been some questionable calls, I guess we'll say. Definitely some ticky-tack things. For the most part, it is consistent. No team I've seen has come out and say, the rest were awful. It's just mostly like they're calling way too much. But with that being said, it's creating a lot of excitement. And like you said, it makes the special teams that much more important in the outcome of the game. So, all right, before we go, Matt, we got 2 games tonight. Early game, Boston and Tampa, and then Vegas versus Vancouver. I want to hear your predictions for these 2 games and score.
Which one we going first?
We'll go chronological. Go with Boston first.
I say Tampa squeaks out a win tonight. Lucky bounce, and then Boston can't get it done. I say like 2-1 Tampa, and then Boston just gets super pissed off and blows them out in Game 3. So Tampa squeaks out a win tonight, but again, it's a short-term sacrifice for long-term success. I think if Boston gets screwed over a little bit tonight, then they're just going to play that much more physical, that much more fast, and they're going to blow Tampa out of the water the game after. So,
cool. Yeah, it's hard to pick against the Lightning following a win, but I'm going to because I want Boston to sweep and be able to play some golf before the next series. So I'm going to say Boston. Another 3-2 win, but this one I say is different. Either a comeback or it comes down to the last second. It's not a 3-0 lead that quickly turns into 3-2 because of a couple bounces. I think this is a lot more evenly played game. I'll start in the West with the late game. I think Vancouver shoves it right back. I say 4-1 win Vancouver, no empty netters. I think it's a dominating win for Vancouver, much higher pace, much less physicality. Vancouver takes over this game and ties up the series.
I don't think I could disagree with you more on anything. I think Vegas says this is our league now. It's only our 3rd season in the league, and we're the best team in the league. I say it's like 4-0 Vegas, and they just say, "Look, can we hurry up to the Western Conference Finals because this is Bush League."
Cool.
So Vegas just dominates Vancouver tonight, and then Vancouver goes back licking their wounds like, wait, we're already down 2-0 and we've given up 100 goals in 2 games.
Yeah, interesting note about this matchup. Since Vegas was conceived, I guess you'll say, since they entered the league, Vancouver has not beat them in regulation. I'll qualify that. I think it's like 9-0-3 or something that Vegas is against Vancouver, but no regulation wins for Vancouver against Vegas in the history of their franchise. So, which is crazy to think. If they win a game in this series, they're making history. But that would be the case.
One interesting point about this series is that Marc-Andre Fleury he's like 12-2-3 against Vancouver lifetime. He hasn't lost to Vancouver since 2006. So, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe you want to consider throwing that guy in there. I know both of these series, and this is what we'll leave on. Both of these series have some back-to-back. So I'll start with this. Do you think Fleury plays on the back end of the back-to-back?
That's such a hard question because it's so dependent on how Lehner plays tonight.
Yeah.
If he has another shutout, you're going to go with another guy?
Yeah, you have to. I was watching a press conference today. Bruce Cassidy, the Bruins coach, when they asked him the same question, you probably don't even know it, Dan Vladar, you know the guy? Of course you don't. He's the backup goalie for Boston right now. They asked Bruce, do you think Dan would play on the back end of a back-to-back? And he didn't once mention how Yara would play in Game 2. He said it all has to do with how Yara feels in the morning, on Wednesday morning. Another thing he mentioned is if we take a 2-0 lead and we have the luxury of playing, throwing different guys in the lineup, you'll see some lineup changes as we take on Game 3 with a 2-0 lead. So it sounds like if Boston wins tonight and Yaro isn't 100% on Wednesday morning, it looks like we're going to see Dan Vladar's debut as a goalie. Maybe Vegas is in the same sort of boat where you will see Fleury if they have a 2-0 lead, because not that you ever want to lose a game, but you do have a game to play with and still keep the lead in the series.
God, I hate that, though, because it's the Stanley Cup playoffs. You can't give up a game even if you're up 3-0.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, yeah,
That's just me.
Definitely I agree, but I do understand the logic where if you need the win, you won't even consider putting those other guys in. But you don't absolutely need to win. You're not giving up the game by any point. He also mentioned he thinks the guys are going to play no matter who's in the net. He thinks the guys are going to play 100%. So it's not like you're rolling over and giving up the win, but you are saying, like you said, maybe chance of losing the game, short-term disappointment for long-term success. Yara Halak is a 35-year-old goalie who's playing more games on a single stretch than he has since probably 2010 when he played for Montreal. And even then, he ran out of gas at the end of the playoffs. So you're in a situation where you're probably going to need to rest him at some point. If you're up 2-0 on a back-to-back, you take that to your advantage. You earn that spot to be up 2-0. So that's the sort of situation that you have to play with.
I think the Boston situation is different than the Vegas situation. Even though they both have back-to-backs. Just because Lehner is so hot right now, I don't know. I think if Lehner slips a little bit tonight and they do lose, that's a different conversation.
Cool.
I also don't think that George McPhee, the GM for Vegas, or DeBoer are going to feed into the Twitter hype of you're backstabbing Fleury. So they're not going to put him in just for that either.
Yeah, that's unfortunately, like we said, that is something you now have to think about, and that's a good point that I didn't think about. If you put in Fleury, that's creating even more drama. But if the board just never mentions this and never puts him in, then he's not going to have to speak to it ever again. So maybe some ulterior motives there.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, Matt, that's all I got for today.
Go do your pre-game rituals for the Bees game.
Definitely. I have to go whatever.
Do you have any pre-game rituals? Do you wear the same jersey or the same hat for every game?
I don't. I'm going to watch it at a friend's tonight, so it will be the first time all playoffs that I'm not on my couch. So who knows? If they lose, I'll never do that again. But no, I really got nothing.
All right. Well, enjoy the game. We'll be texting, and we'll try to fit in a podcast maybe before the end of the week if the series get crazy.
Definitely. All right, Matt.
All right. See you guys later. Peace.
Pleasure.